Hello, good evening. Thank you for waiting. I believe there's about 20 people or so I appreciate that you've sat in the waiting room, waiting on us for this masterclass this evening with Mr. Simon Edgoose, where we're going to talk about this wonderful, wonderful piece of kit. Is the EAD10 from Yamaha. Probably the best-selling product this year, last year, since its inception, since maybe time began. Who knows? I believe that we've sold more than some countries. Can you believe that? That's amazing. So it's a wonderful piece of kit, but we're not going to take my word for it. Simon, who's about to come on, is Yamaha's resident expert. He deals with all the DTX products for the UK and helps design them for Yamaha themselves, whether that be the DTX 6, the DTX 452, or the EAD. So we're not going to waste any time because you're not here to see me, you're here to see Simon. So we're going to bring Mr. Simon Edgoose on to take you through what this product is. So I believe he is here right about now. Good evening, Simon.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Very well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Warm, very warm. But apart from that, really good.
Is it still scarily warm?
It's quite warm here. I must apologise. When I got my vocal mic on, you can probably hear a noise in the background. That is fans, because otherwise all the cameras are going to shut down because they'll overheat. Yeah. So so apologise for the noise. But yes, everything is cool here, just not temperature-wise.
Good, good. Well, we thought, we've done this before, but the EAD sells so well that we should bring you back for people and just maybe give them a brief overview of what it is and what it can do. Absolutely,
absolutely. I mean, even though it's been out since what, 2017, and
really?
It's something like that. Yeah, it's quite a long time now. It's quite a long time. But there's still a lot of people sort of misunderstanding what it does, and it's much simpler than most people understand. I just wanted to sort of go over the three main areas of what it does. So, Chris, can I just check? We've got about half an hour doing this, and we've got about 15 minutes of questions. So, if people want to leave questions to the end.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. If we cover the questions, apologies for that. But if you feel like we don't, then yeah, as Simon said, feel free to drop us a question, and Adam can put it to you, and we can take it from there.
Fantastic. And if you do have a question, I can see it on the screen here anyway. So, I'll try and involve it all. Okay, yeah. So, right. If you're looking at the screen, you're probably your eye is drawn to all the wiring and everything else, which is down here. But this is nothing to do with EAD. This is more to do with vision mixers, so you can see me and hear me and everything else like that. EAD itself is just that. So EAD is electronic acoustic drums. There's two different parts. The part on the left is the sensor, which goes onto the bass drum, and the module is the bit on the right. Now, if I show you what I've got here, I've got the sensor here, and I've got the module just there. If there's any questions I need to show you how to do something, I can just do it straight off the front there. And at its simplest, it is just an audio capture device for your acoustic drum kit. It's microphones. So if I just, there we go. Right. So the sensor goes onto the bass drum like that, and inside it there's two microphones. Actually, I can show you this, which are about there. But I can also show you a very sneaky inside picture. Those two red things at the top are the microphones, and they pick up the whole of the sound of your acoustic kit from the front bass drum hoop. Not the front bass drum hoop, the batter side bass drum hoop. And, on that front, it's pretty simple. I can take my drum kit sound, and I can, I'll show you. I'm going to turn my mic off, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this kit with nothing on it. It's going to be completely flat. No effects, no nothing. It's just the sound of this kit. The kit I'm playing is a Yamaha Hip. So it's 10 by 5, 13 by, that looks like 7, 20 by 8, and I've got an aluminium 14 by 5 snare drum. And so the sound you're going to hear next is this kit through the EAD with nothing on it. Easy, simple. As such, it's nothing particularly special. I could get the same by sticking a couple of mics over the top. But where this comes into its own is what is on the front. And on the front, I've got these 3 knobs here, so labeled up as reverb, effect, and trigger. Now, reverb just lets me add different sorts of reverb. I'm on the Arena kit, which is probably the most used one for gigging. It's just a nice, simple kit which just adds a little bit of reverb and makes your kit sound great. So if I just turn up the reverb, it's probably about there, I can add the natural reverb onto the kit like this. So very, very simple, one knob, I can add as much or as little reverb, and I've got different sorts of reverb as well. So I can use this for, well, whatever you want really. It started off, the whole idea behind the EAD was something which would help drummers practice. You know, when you're practicing at home and you're playing your acoustic kit and it's really loud and you can only play for so long before your ears get really tired, but by using the EAD, you can have headphones, I've got in-ears here, and you can have everything at a volume which is comfortable, you can make your kit sound great, and you can practice for much longer. But the other main reason that the EAD was created in the first place was for YouTube videos. And, you know, we drummers, if you look on YouTube, there's millions, literally millions of drumming videos, and this is a quick and easy way to get the sound of your kit onto your video. We're going to talk more about videos later, but at the moment we're just going to talk about this as a microphone system. So I can use this to practice, or I can use this to gig. So I can take the EAD out, I can mic my kit in about 30 seconds, put the sensor on the bass drum, connect it to the module with 2 cables, give the sound guy a left and a right and say, that's my drum mix. It is as simple as that. It literally takes 30 seconds. So it's really, really simple. Now, it's not designed to replace Abbey Road or, you know, any of the massive studios. It's just a very convenient way of getting your kit sound. So let's have a listen to some of it. I've showed you some reverb. There are hundreds of effects inside, and I can choose different effects for different things. If I just want to be in a room, I can just add reverb. But it doesn't have to be just normal room reverb. I could have big halls, I could have small rooms, I could have plates, I could have gated reverb, which we'll come back to. But it means I can put this drum kit in a space. When we normally mic a drum kit, we have microphones on the outside pointing in. With the EAD, we've got the microphones inside the sensor here, and the microphones are pointing out. So it picks up less room sound. So I could do something, well, it's a little bit more interesting. Let's do something which you can't normally do with an acoustic drum kit unless you've got a lot of effects. I can mess about with delays. So I can do something like this. Now normally that would take loads of gear to do, but I can just do it straight out of the box with the EAD. Now I've got a click on, so I can stay in time with the click, and all the delays will be in time with that. So if you want to do your best Stuart Copeland impersonation, you can very easily. But it doesn't just have to be delays. I could add a distortion. I want to be a sort of a John Bonham type, slightly crunchy drum sound. I can take my nice clean drum sound, so this, and add on some distortion and come up with something like this. So, it really depends on what you want to do. There's so many things that we can do. Now, as well as the microphones inside the sensor, we've also got a trigger. So I can trigger my bass drum, because with the microphones facing upwards, it picks up the cymbals great, it picks up toms great, it picks up the snare drum fantastically, but it's pointing away from the bass drum. So if you need a little bit more from the bass drum, you can add a sound in, you can trigger a sound when you play the bass drum. So for instance, I could turn my 20x8 hip kit bass drum into a little jazz kit just by turning up an 18-inch bass drum sample underneath. So all I'm doing is I'm just turning up the sample knob and the trigger knob, sorry, and I'm bringing in the sample underneath the bass drum sound. So at the moment, everything you've heard up until now has just been this drum kit. All the delays, all that stuff, it's just been this drum kit through the EAD. But now we can start to add a little bit more. We can start to get a little bit clever with what we want to do. So I could add that jazz bass drum sound, but I could also maybe add a massive sub. Say you're doing a load of dancey stuff, or you're playing in a venue which has very little low end. I can just trigger a low sub from my bass drum like this. So very, very simple. Suddenly my 20x8 bass drum becomes this massive electronic bass drum. Or if I want to add something else, I could bring in my own samples as well. So I can actually load 100 of my own samples into the EAD module just on a USB drive, and I can trigger them at the same time as the bass drum. So this is an orchestral bass drum. A sample which I put in. I'm going to play on the bass drum. I'm going to fade it in, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it through this. So something like this. So a monstrous bass drum sound just by putting extra samples on top of the sound of this kit. So it really depends on what you need to do. But if it was just that, it would be great, but we can do a lot more. So I've also got a trigger on the snare drum. I'm going to show you here. There we go, trigger on the snare drum here. And what that is doing is exactly the same as the one on the bass drum. So I've got a layer of samples which I can add on to my snare drum sound. Whenever I hit my snare drum, it will also trigger a sound from the EAD module as well. Very, very simple. This is one of the presets. This is one called Calf Heads. And this, I think, is brilliant because it changes my very modern sounding kit into a 1930s sounding calf-headed drum kit, like an old Slingland or something like that. So, very, very cool. Listen to the snare. It's the same snare, it's the same 14x5 aluminium Yamaha, but with the samples on top, it's going to sound like a big old vintage snare drum. So, you can take your drum kit and you can take it in many, many different ways, depending on what you want to do. Now, if you're using this to gig with, and I've used this many times to gig with, and it's fantastic. There's a couple of things I noticed. One is when I was using the EAD, and I just plugged my in-ears into the front of the module so I can hear myself, I started playing half the volume because I could hear myself so well. I could hear all the ghost notes. I could hear all my little buzz rolls and everything else. And I wasn't struggling to hear myself through monitors and everything else. So I just found that I was suddenly playing much quieter, and it was so much more enjoyable to play because I wasn't fighting to be heard. So that's one thing. But it means that I can use this to make the kit sound better in venues where there's a really horrible sound. Now, if you play in a function band or anything like that, you've probably played in marquees, and marquees have no low end. They just sound really empty. So when you're playing, it just sounds, the bass drum just sort of goes, and that's it. You've got no low end. But built into the EAD are a load of things called kick assist and snare assist. And these are sounds that you can dial in to replace what's missing from your sound in that venue, in the marquee or whatever. So I can put in more click, I can put in more bottom end, I can put in more rumble, I can put in more rattle on the snare, or more buzz, more snare, rattle, whatever you want. There's so much that we can do. So I can use a little kit like this, make it sound really, really big, but use these kick assist and snare assists to help the sound. Chris, you looked really concerned for a second, but I'm assuming everything's all right. Okay, so yeah, so I can, my audio has died.
It's okay, it's back.
Oh, okay.
No, it's back. It went for a minute, but apologies about that.
Okay, sorry, don't know what that was. Okay, so yeah, so kick assist, snare assist, I can dial in the parts of the sound which are missing from the room. So very, very useful. Then I can start doing stuff. Maybe I want to add a little bit of character onto a track. So I could do something like this. Again, this is one of the presets. Hopefully you can hear that. There's record crackle on the snare. I just play a groove. The whole kit sounds old. It sounds like it's on a record. And I can just do stuff like that just to give the feeling of a different kit, a different style, more drum machiney, more sort of MPC type thing. So there's so many different ways that the EAD can change the sound of your kit. It just depends on what you need to do. Plus, now, if I just go back to the back side of the module, here we go, let's put that on. You've got your master left and right. You've got your two leads from the sensor, which are labelled up A and B, and then you've got other triggers. So we've got the snare trigger, and we've got number 5 and number 6. So I can add on more triggers. So if you look at the overhead shot, I've got a trigger on my rack tom, a trigger on my floor tom, although I haven't used these yet. But I've also, off to the right, but I don't think you can see that here, you probably can on the front shot, yes you can, I've got a Yamaha 3-zone pad, okay? And if I plug a 3-zone pad into input 5 or 6, I can get 3 different triggered sounds off one pad. So I could have one pad replacing my sample pad that I would normally take to trigger tambourines and stuff like that on a gig. I can just stick it all onto one pad here. And everything that you're hearing, apart from my voice, is coming out of EAD. So I've got loops, I've got tracks, let's have a look. Oh yeah. And I've just short loops. They're not full tracks. They're sort of 40-second loops and stuff like that. And so I could be playing, I could be doing a gig, and I want to have something in the background. And I've got this set up so I hit it once to start, hit it once to end. And I can have it, the click built in to the EAD, I can have that at the same tempo, and as long as I hit the pad in time, everything will just stay in sync, everything will stay at the same time, and it just makes life really easy if you're gigging. Right, so much stuff I can do. Now, I said about the tom triggers, but what I'm going to do now is just show you something, the sort of thing you could do with loading your own samples. So on the bass drum, I'm triggering a part of a loop, this, and on the snare drum, I've got the other part of the loop. So if I play normally, the loop will play along, and I've got it so that when I play the snare drum, it cuts the bass drum off, so they never get in the way, and it doesn't get too messy. So I could very, very quickly and easily just do this. So, you know, very, very nice and simple. Chris, you're
Simon.
looking at me. Yes.
Yes. So you mentioned that the product's been around for a few years now. Mm-hmm. What are the kind of mistakes that people make the first time they use it, or what kind of things of troubleshooting things have you had to deal with from people?
Okay, right. Common mistakes that people make are one, they think it's an electronic kit, which is not. It's mainly microphones. Two, on the front of the module, if I just go over to the module, there's this light here. And if I play really loud, hang on, it flashes. That's because I'm overloading. I'm actually playing it too loud. People think that light flashing, it should flash every single time they hit a drum. So it's sort of getting it the wrong way around. So what you need to do, and this is something, again, which people don't do when they get an EAD, is you need to set this up to work for your how you play. So if I just show you very quickly how to do that. I've just gone back to the arena kit. I'm going to press this button here, and if I play the bass drum, it'll show how loud the microphone is at the top. Okay, so when I play the bass drum, it's going all the way up to the top, and the trigger's going almost all the way up to the top on the bottom line. So microphone is the top line, trigger is the bottom line. Okay, and that's how it should be set up. But if it's too quiet, even if you play really hard, the microphone doesn't get to the top. So your kit's never going to be as loud as it could be. So one of the common things is, yeah, you need to adjust the microphones so they they suit your playing. And everybody plays differently. Everybody plays, you know, we all have different sticks, we all have different technique, we all have different drums. So you need to just check the trigger settings whenever whenever you set up an EAD in a different place, just make sure that you're not overloading it, or at the same time you're not too quiet. So those are the main things.
Okay, great. That's been like super informative, super quickly. We've got a bunch of questions that have been sort of contributed to the chat. So shall we just start going through them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam, do you want to put them on for Simon? Okay.
Okay, right. So presumably everyone can see that. So at a gig with loud backline, will the mics on the EAD10 not pick up everything? Well, to a degree, yes, they will, but so do normal mics. The difference with this is, say you've got a normal miking system, you've got one on the snare, one on the bass drum, one on each tom, couple of overheads. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got at least 6 microphones. And those 6 microphones are going to pick up all the spill. There's only 2 microphones in the sensor, so theoretically you're going to pick up a third of the amount of spill by the time it's all being added together in the mixer. So yes, it will, but because it's in the center of the kit rather than on the outside looking in, it's the inside looking out, it will get less spill. There's some really good videos online of people who have used this, and they've just done a recording. There's one in particular I can think of. They've done a recording through the module, and it's a really small stage. It's like slightly bigger than where I am here. There's a bass player here, there's a guitarist here, there's amps, and there's really not that much spill. I mean, there is always going to be some spill because it's microphones, but not as much as you would expect. So yes, there will be some, but not too much.
Thanks for the question, George.
Right, I got a question. When it comes to a more metal style setup where the toms are more to the right near the hi-hat, can you adjust the mic more to one side? Right, you can. The only problem is it puts the whole of the sound of the kit slightly off. What you can do, I mean, I'd be the first person to say EAD is not for everybody. If you have a Terry Bozzio-sized kit, it's not going to work. If you have 3 floor toms, it's probably going to have problems picking up the last floor tom. In situations, if you've got a really big drum kit, then it's probably worth getting overheads and mics on everything if you need to. But then you need a mixer and you need to know what you're doing. I would say the EAD is really designed for your sort of typical 4, 5, 6, 7-piece kit. Nothing too massive. If you've got toms over here, which is probably what you mean, then it's probably going to struggle a little bit to pick them up. But there is one thing that will help, and that is the middle knob on the module is labelled up effect, and you can add compression on that. And when you add compression, it brings the dynamics together. It brings up the quiet notes and it brings down the loud notes, and it will sort of even out the quieter instruments, depending on how much you have. So there's ways around it, but yeah, if you have got a large kit, it's possibly not going to do the job perfectly, but it'll give you a very good representation of the main part of your kit.
I'm going to be quite glib
yeah.
and ask if you can daisy chain 2 together.
Right. Now, I know some people who've done this, and I don't think it works because these are stereo mics. If you have 2 stereo mics, one on each bass drum, say if you've got a double bass drum kit, you're going to have phase problems because phase problems is what happens when you have audio hitting microphones at different times and then being added together. So it doesn't really work using 2 of these, but I know of a couple of guys who are using big double bass drum kits, and they have the sensor mounted above the snare drum between the 2 bass drums, and it actually picks up the kit really, really well.
Oh wow!
If you yeah, it works great. And I know another person who's mounted it up here, right in front of them, looking down, and that works very well. So yeah, experiment. I mean, people have done it and they've done it successfully, but just having 2 of the sensors doesn't actually work.
Okay. Okay. I was being kind of, if you've got a big kit, then you'll just need to buy two, a bit.
Yeah,
a bit
no,
jokey.
not quite that simple, I'm afraid.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Adam, we've got another question? Yeah? You pop one over.
Can you run how you connect devices in and out to balance volumes of music and EAD effects in your headphones? I find the music too quiet and effects too loud. Do I need an interface little mixer? No. Right. Okay. It should be really, really simple. So, for instance, if I go move on to the module, I've got a USB pen drive in the back. You can just about see it down here, and I'm going to play a track off it. So if I play, which one should I, is it that one? Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so if I play that track, this knob here will be the volume of the track. So I can turn it down completely. So I can adjust how much of the track I've got. And I can play along to it. I mean, if that's not solving it just by using the audio click, then I'm guessing the track is too quiet, and you might need to limit or compress the track, which you'll need to do on a computer. Really, if you're having a problem like that, it would suggest that the music source is too quiet. So the track is actually too quiet, and even with that on full, it's just not giving you enough. So you'd need to limit the track. Sorry, a bit technical, but yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate the question. Are you using the click through the EAD? If so, how do you separate from the output?
Right, easy. Okay, so yeah, I've got, you can't see, I've got a pedal down here which starts the click. I've got the pedal plugged into the back of the module, and whenever I hit the pedal, you'll see the click light light up. And I'm hearing the click at the moment, okay? So if I press that again, now if I come out of this and go down to Utility, General, and I can go, here we go, click output. At the moment it's just going to the phones, but I can choose whether I have that going to the left and right, outputs and phones, or all of them, which is left, right output, headphones and USB. So if you're recording, you can actually use that click as well. So I'm just going to have it on phones, so when I have the click on, it will just send the click straight through to my headphones and not to the output, because you don't want your audience to hear the click. Okay?
Cool. Cool.
Next one.
We're going to, yeah, I believe there's one coming.
But yeah, good question about the click, because
So
that is one thing that people notice.
Okay. Can you pre-record a MIDI sound to start when you hit the electric tom?
Can you pre-record a MIDI sound? Okay, well, MIDI's not sound. MIDI is just a trigger signal. Do you mean a sample? I think if you mean a sample, do you mean a sample, Nicholas? Yes, you can have a sound, stuck it on the USB drive, load it into the module, and then hit the pad, and it will trigger a sound. So you can have up to 100 different sounds, up to, I can't remember what the time limit is, but we've got, yeah, you can have 100 different sounds of anything you want. So if you want Lars Ulrich snare drum, you can sample it and you can trigger off your snare whenever you hit the snare, if you want to do that.
Does anyone?
It depends.
I'm being. There's a potential issue someone is having here. A guy called Dusty Canuster is saying that the snare is triggering the bass drum. This is a constant problem because the kick sensitivity is so low you have to crank it and then the snare triggers it.
Good. Snare is triggering the bass drum. Because the kick sensitivity is so low, you have to crank it and then... Oh, right, okay. Right, well, you can do what I'm doing here. I'm not actually using the trigger inside the sensor. I have got, again, if I go to the overhead, if you can see it... Hang on, let me just move this, Tom. There we go. I'm actually using one of the Yamaha bass drum triggers rather than the one in here, because I wanted it on the kit to show you when we talk about mesh, if we talk about mesh later on.
Sorry, Simon, can I stop you, man?
Yeah.
Because the audio cut out very briefly. Could you start that again, please?
Right.
Sorry.
Okay. So I'm not using the trigger inside the sensor for this. I normally would, but I need it to be very specific for a couple of things. So I'm using an external Yamaha DT50K trigger. If you're finding that your snare is triggering the bass drum, then it might be worth getting a separate trigger. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, what you can do is you can just adjust. Is it? It must be adjusted. Sorry, it must be triggering the sample. In which case, what you can do is this. If I just go into the menu, right? If you go to the trigger settings, which are here, you can see this. Yes, okay. Go down to pad type. Hit the bass drum, and then come down here and adjust the minimum level. The minimum level is what we call the threshold. So it's the level below which everything is ignored. And it sounds like how yours is set up at the moment, that is set too low. So you actually need to bring up the minimum level until your snare stops triggering your bass drum. So that either adjusting the minimum level or using an external bass drum trigger should get round that problem.
Could it be also that maybe the snare drum's too close, maybe touching the sensor unit?
It might be, but it would have to be.
Without seeing it, it's hard to diagnose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be touching it because there wouldn't be any space for his legs. So I would think that yeah. I mean, mine's probably getting off about 10 centimeters away.
Okay.
Yeah. So that one of those two things should solve it.
Okay. I used the EAD for quite some time in my home studio just to capture sound for the DAW. However, the sound seems compressed. Is there any way to edit the sound prior to its exit the DAW?
Okay, so there's a couple of things there. So if it's sounding compressed, then it's either being compressed by the EAD before it goes in. So you need to make sure that the effect knob is fully down. So it won't add any compression. And also you just need to check that there's not, by default, compression on that channel in your DAW. But the other thing is, actually, think about it, the other thing that it could be is have you adjusted your mic levels inside the module. Like I showed you earlier by pressing this button here and then playing and making sure that the mic and the trigger levels don't go past the top and the red light doesn't flash. If the red light flashes, then that's also going to cause problems. So it could be something like that. Again, there's a few different options it might be.
Cool. From Anders, hi, I wonder how do you change the volume between different triggers? I have the bass drum trigger in the EAD10 and separate triggers for toms and snare.
All right, this is brilliant question. And it's so simple. It's really, really simple. So if I just go back to Arena, right, I'm just going to change the camera so you can see it. Right, when I play the bass drum, you can see that the trigger light doesn't come on, which means I'm not playing a sample. But if I, say, put it up to there, when I play the bass drum, it's going to... I can't hear a sample at the moment. Let's have a look. No, there is a sample in there. Okay. Oh, yes, I can. Yeah, it's pretty quiet, but it's there. Right, so now if I hit the snare drum, you'll notice all the lights go out. That's because I've hit the snare drum, but there's no volume on the snare drum sample. So if I hit the bass drum, all the lights will come on. If I hit the snare drum, only half the lights will come on. So this is active. This knob is active all the time. Whatever you hit, if I hit the rack tom, there's no sample. But I'm going to put about that much on. Hit the bass drum, full, snare drum, half, tom, 3/4. And let's put, just for good measure, let's do the floor tom, 1/4. So whatever you last hit, that knob will show you what you've got. So bass drum, snare drum, rack 1, rack 2. Okay, so that is a really, really essential knob. Okay,
that's amazing.
But that is how you adjust the volumes.
Is that the same for effects, Simon, or is effects global?
Yeah, no, the effects are global. The effects are global,
Okay.
but that trigger knob also does anything else. So if you've got a pad
wow.
plugged into it, it will also do the pad volume as well. So if you're playing a gig and you trigger a loop and the loop's a bit loud, if you can get it at the right time, you can just actually turn the volume of that loop down. So
Cool.
it's continuously active, that knob. It's really useful. Right. Okay, I'm curious about how you'd run EAD10, the mixer, as you decided, would you have to connect your mixer to the AD because my mixer is analog? How you would run the EAD...
To the mixer.
Okay.
Since you...
Okay, right. I'm guessing this is for live, or... no, because you're talking about drivers. So I'm guessing this is for straight into your computer. Right, okay. You can connect the EAD straight to your computer just with a USB cable. You just plug it one end into the into the EAD module, the other end into your computer, and your computer will find it as an audio interface. It doesn't get any simpler than that. You don't actually need an audio interface of any other sort. If you're running a Mac, you can run lots of different audio interfaces at the same time. So you could have the EAD, you could have your Steinberg one, your whatever else you wanted, Focusrite, whatever. So if you are going from the EAD into your audio interface with normal jack-to-jack cables, then it's just however you normally connect your audio interface into your computer. If it's for live, then you would just have the two cables coming out the back of the module, and you would give those to the sound guy and say, that's it. Simple as that. I hope that's answered your question, but let me know if not.
You mentioned mesh.
Yeah, yes.
Because we get this, as a shop, we get asked this quite a lot. Can it be used with mesh as a practice setup for home?
Yes, okay. So
Mesh heads.
yeah, a couple of years ago, Yamaha released the version 2 software for this. And what that was for was so we can use EAD as a drum module for a mesh head kit. So if I had this kit and I had mesh heads on, if I put triggers on everything, including the bass drum, and if I update the software, which is very simple, takes about 2 minutes to do, inside the actual module, then I can trigger drum sounds off the mesh heads, and if I have low volume cymbals, I can mix in the sound of the low volume cymbals with the samples on the drums, and I've got a pretty much silent practice kit, and it works really, really well. So yes, you can use this with mesh heads, but you need to have the version 2 software, which is a free download, and there's two updates. One is for the trigger settings and one is for the sound settings. And if you do both of those, then you can use this on mesh as well as just using it in a normal kit.
Amazing. I think the only thing we haven't looked at then, the most important, when is Yamaha releasing an updated module?
Hello, Dusty. Right. Not yet. Nothing planned at the moment. I mean, obviously, things are always being planned, but it's not. We're not talking imminent. We're not talking. Yeah. If you get one of these, don't worry. It won't be replaced next week. I think that's the easiest answer.
We haven't talked about the app. The Reck'n'Share
Yes.
app. That's about the only thing
Reck'n'Share
we
app.
haven't spoken about.
Okay, right now, as you can see, I've got this iPad off to my left, and what I can do with this, the Reck'n'Share app is something which came out with the original EAD, and it allows me to connect my Android or iOS device to the EAD with a USB cable, and I can play along with tracks, I can slow them down, I can speed them up, and I could loop them, I could add a click to them. So actually, let's just do that very, very quickly. Actually, I won't do that now because it's going to be rubbish to watch. So I'm not going to do that now. But what I will do is I'll show you how to make a video. So what I've got here is I have got, there we go. Right, I have got a track on my iPad, which goes like this. Let me just turn this down so it's not deafening. Okay, now you can hear the track and you can hear a click. The click has actually been generated by the app. So if I turn this off, there's no click. Whoops, let me just knock the camera, why not? If I just put the click back in. Okay, and I can speed it up, I can slow it down, so let's slow it down. And the click stays with it. I'm just going to put that back to where it was. Right. So what I can do is if this is all connected up, I'm going to hit the start recording button. And I'm now going to use the camera, the front camera, or it can be either camera, on my iPad to record me. And all the audio is coming from the EAD, so I'm going to put some reverb on and a bit of compression. And I can make a drum track as easily as this. Let me just turn my mic off. Turn my mic on. There we go. Now I'm going to have to show you this in the overhead camera. So overheads. Here we go. Look, there we go. You can see that just about. I'm just going to hit the save button. I'm not going to give it a name at the moment. And now I'm going to go back to it. And I can just hit the play button. Now, if you notice, the track's quite loud, but the drums are quite quiet. So what I can do is if I just come out of this, go to the Edit key in the middle, and now, if I just wait for it to, there we go, I can adjust the volume of the backing track. So let's put that down to 50%, and let's just check that. So now the track is quieter. But what I can also do, which is really clever, is sometimes your device might not be fast enough to keep up with it. So what I can do here, if I just go up here, is I can do timing adjustment, and I can time slip the drumming or the backing track by, I think it's half a second, it's 500 milliseconds. I can't do it at the moment. Yes, 500 milliseconds, forwards or backwards. So I can, if it's not perfectly in time or doesn't look perfectly in time, I can actually time slip everything so the drumming is perfectly there with the track. So it's, you know, it's really, really simple. It's very, very easy to use. It's free as well, which is great. We always love a free app. You know, you can use it. You don't have to use it just for making videos. You can just use it for practice. I've shown you about speeding stuff up, slowing it down. It's really, really very, very simple. So that is the that is the Reck'n'Share app, which is the one which comes with EAD.
Amazing.
Oh.
Wow. We have got one more question. I know your Simon's time is short, so this last question.
So we've gone on. We're running late. No, it's very bad of me. Sorry.
No, not at all.
I have a piece I can show that, but I was curious, since it has a USB input and an iPhone on the adapter piece, could you use a GoPro? Oh, right. No, you can't use a GoPro cam instead of an iPhone or an Android device with Reck'n'Share. But what you can do is this, and it's really, really simple, is if you can get some really good video editing software. Which is free. DaVinci Resolve, there's a free version which is amazingly powerful. And what you can do is, if you have multiple cameras, so if you have one iOS device or one Android device, and you have a load of GoPros as well, you don't have to sync them up beforehand. What you do is just film everything, and then just put it all into whatever video editor you're using. And then a lot of these programs nowadays will just work out where everything is and just time align everything. So then you can have multi-camera views to your videos. So the actual hard work is all done by the editing software on your computer. So you can't connect actually, sorry, just thinking about it, there is a way to make your GoPro work with this, which is have the output from the EAD and plug it into the audio input of your GoPro and film it like that. That would work, but you don't have as much control because you can't adjust everything afterwards, and your mix and your take is what you've got. With the app, I can chop and tail it, I can, as you saw, time slip it, I can change the mix afterwards and do lots of stuff like that. So you could, in theory, use a GoPro, but if you used an Android or an iOS device linked up to the module, you're going to have a lot more options.
Cool. There you go. Thank you, mate. Thank you for coming on and taking us through that. Again, another wonderfully in-depth look at the EAD. It's pretty game-changing, eh?
It's brilliant. I mean, it does so much. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, from a gigging point of view, I take it with me to every single gig because I don't know whether there's going to be mics provided or there's going to be a sound engineer. If there isn't, I'll just set it up. Even if there are mics provided, what I often do is I'll set up the EAD and just have it as my own personal monitor, just because the sound quality is great and it means I can hear myself exactly as I want to. I mean, if you want to, have a mini mixer and have the rest of the bands fall back into your mini mixer and mix that in with the EAD and send the EAD out to the front of house, yes, you can do that as well. There's so many different options. Yeah,
it's ridiculously powerful. You can see why it sells so well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. I think there's
Chris.
a few more questions, but if people didn't get their questions answered, where can they find you?
Right, okay. edruminfo.com is my website, so you can get hold of me through that, and social media, I'm there most of the time, as we all are. So if you've got electronics questions, then yes, I may well be able to help you. Okay.
The last time that you did this, so
I've lost you now.
Question. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I don't know what Adam's doing. You did a YouTube video the last time we did one of these, so the question may be there, so it's also worth going to watch that too.
Yes. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I did loads of videos for EAD when it first came out, so there's going to be lots of stuff where you can do your research. But if you can't find an answer, then absolutely get in touch. That's no problem at all. Brilliant.
Okay, well, thank you so much, mate. Have
Chris.
a great night, and we'll catch up down the road soon, no doubt.
Fantastic. Speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Simon. Take care. Hello. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you got from that what you wanted. But as Simon says, eDrum Info for his website. Check out the YouTube video we did with him before. The rest of the Yamaha videos that are around on YouTube. If your question didn't get answered, there's every chance that it'll be tucked in there. I think Adam put it up on the screen. We do have a bunch of these in stock. We have bundle offers on where you can get them with the trigger if you want additional trigger and that kind of thing. If you're local to either branch, Glasgow or Leeds, and you want to hear what it sounds like, we have one set up all the time, so come in and check it out. They are a ridiculously powerful piece of kit, so yeah, do check it out if you want to take your drumming forward with some sort of electronics. I think that is all from us for tonight. Adam, he's bringing up the page on the website, you can see there. Yeah. Is there all the info for the peeps where to find us? Oh, I'm putting him on the spot. There you go. So if you need to find us,
folks, that's what you expect.
Give us a call. Glasgow 0141 429 3799. Leeds is 0113 244 2183. It is info@drummersonly.co.uk if you want to email us here in Glasgow, or leeds@drummersonly.co.uk if you want to email them. If you want to get in touch on any social media platform, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, anything like that, it's @drummersonly UK. Don't forget, we have a podcast too. The latest episode dropped on Tuesday with Mr. Joost Nickel. It was a wonderful chat I had with Joost. He's just brought out a new album. We chat a bit about that and a bit about his playing and all sorts of other great drumming stuff.
I'm just going to quickly interject here and say that we also have a podcast with Simon Edgoose as well that you should check out.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a podcast with Simon where we talk about more general electronic drumming things, not just the EAD. So yeah, that is there for you on Spotify or Apple or YouTube for the videos if you want to watch them. Do give us a shout over the weekend. We'll be back. Maybe next time we'll come from Leeds. Who knows? With the next live video with something a little different. Whatever.
Well, that wasn't expected at all, but we'll try and make it happen.
But yeah, have yourself a great weekend, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.